Somewhere in America right now, someone is standing at a gun show, staring at their grandfather's old shotgun, and they are about to make the worst financial decision of their life. They are about to sell it for $300. And that same shotgun, in 5 years, will be worth $3,000. This video is your warning. These are 7 shotguns that are quietly, steadily, almost invisibly becoming priceless. And if you own even one of them, the smartest thing you will ever do is lock it in your safe, pass it down to your children, and never let it go. Number 7. The Remington 870 Wingmaster, pre-1987 production. Most people hear Remington 870 and think of a mass-produced pump shotgun that you can find in every pawn shop in the country. And they are partially right. The 870 is the best-selling pump-action shotgun in history, with over 11 million produced since its introduction in 1950. But the 870 that rolls off a factory line today, and the 870 Wingmaster that Remington was building in the 1960s and 1970s are not the same gun. They share a name. That is about where the similarities end. The early Wingmasters were hand-fitted. The bluing was deep, rich, and applied with a care that modern production simply does not allow. The walnut stocks were hand-checkered. The internal components were machined from solid steel, not stamped from sheet metal. The action on a pre-1987 Wingmaster is so smooth that shotgun enthusiasts describe it as being like cycling a well-oiled bolt-action rifle. There is no rattle, no grit, just a fluid, mechanical perfection that you can feel in your hands the moment you pick one up. What happened in 1987 is the dividing line. Remington was acquired by new ownership and the cost-cutting began. Machine parts were replaced with stamped components. The quality of the bluing deteriorated. The walnut was replaced with cheaper wood or synthetic stocks. And the hand-fitting that defined the Wingmaster disappeared. Every year since, collectors have drawn a sharper and sharper line between pre-express and post-express 870s. Here is where the market tells the story. 10 years ago, a pre-1987 Wingmaster in good original condition was a $200 to $300 gun. Nobody was chasing them. They were just old pump shotguns. Today, clean, original examples are selling for $500 to $800. Premium configurations like the left-hand models, the 16-gauge variants, and the TB trap models are pushing past $1,000. That is a 200 to 300% appreciation in a decade on a gun that most people dismissed as common. And here is the detail that makes this even more urgent. Remington went through bankruptcy in 2020. The brand was broken apart. The Alien, New York factory where every original Wingmaster was built has been closed. There will never be another Remington 870 Wingmaster made the way these were made. The supply is finite and shrinking every year as guns get refinished, parted out, or destroyed through neglect. If you own a pre-1987 Wingmaster in original condition, you are holding a piece of American manufacturing history that is gaining value by the month. Do not sell it. Do not refinish it. Do not swap the wood for synthetic. Leave it exactly as it is. Number 6. The Ithaca Model 37 Featherlight, pre-1986 production. If you have never handled an Ithaca Model 37, there is something you need to understand about this shotgun that makes it unlike every other pump gun ever built. It loads and ejects from the bottom, not the side, the bottom. That single design decision, rooted in a John Browning patent that the Ithaca Gun Company waited years to use after the patent expired, created a shotgun with properties that no other pump action can match. Because there is no side ejection port, the Model 37 is inherently weatherproof from above. Rain, snow, dust, mud, nothing falls into the action from the top or the side. That is why law enforcement agencies adopted it with such enthusiasm. The New York City Police Department carried the Model 37. The Los Angeles Police Department carried the Model 37. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department carried it for decades. It served in World War II, in Korea, in Vietnam. Navy SEALs used a specialized variant called the Stakeout during close-quarters operations in the Mekong Delta. The original Ithaca Gun Company, based in Kings Ferry, New York, closed its doors in 1986. The name has been bought, revived, and shut down multiple times since then, but none of the subsequent incarnations have matched the quality, the fit, or the soul of the original production guns. And collectors know it. They draw a hard line between original Ithaca and everything after. A decade ago, an original Model 37 Featherlight in good condition was a $250 to $400 shotgun. Today, those same guns are commanding $600 to $1,200, and the price curve is steepening. Military and law enforcement contract guns, particularly the trench and riot configurations, are bringing even more. The LAPD-marked Model 37s have become genuine collector's items with prices climbing above $1,500 for documented examples. The Model 37 is one of those firearms that people buy once and never sell. It is lightweight, fast-handling, utterly reliable, and it has a heritage that spans 8 decades of American military and law enforcement history. If you find one at a gun show, especially with the original Ithaca markings and pre-1986 serial numbers, buy it. You will not regret it, and neither will whoever inherits it from you. Number 5. The Winchester Model 12. Winchester called it the perfect repeater, and for once, the marketing was not an exaggeration. The Model 12 was introduced in 1912 and remained in production until 1964, a 52-year run during which Winchester built approximately 2 million of them. But here is what separates the Model 12 from every modern pump shotgun in existence. It was built entirely from machined steel. Every component. No stampings, no castings, no shortcuts. The receiver was milled from a solid steel billet. The internal parts were individually fitted. The result was a shotgun with an action so smooth and so fast that competitive shooters discovered they could slam fire it, hold the trigger down, and cycle the pump, and it would fire faster than many semi-automatic shotguns of the era. The Model 12 earned its legendary status on the battlefields of World War I, where the trench gun variant was so devastating in close-quarters combat that Germany formally protested its use as a violation of the Hague Convention. The protest was denied. American soldiers kept their Model 12 trench guns, and those trench guns, with their bayonet lugs, ventilated heat shields, and 20-inch barrels, are among the most valuable military shotguns in the world today. But even the standard field-grade Model 12s are climbing. In 1964, Winchester discontinued the Model 12 and replaced it with the Model 1200, a cheaper, stamped receiver shotgun that was easier to produce but lacked every quality that made the Model 12 special. That 1964 cutoff date created what collectors call the pre-64 Winchester dividing line, a bright red boundary that applies to Model 12 shotguns just as it does to Model 70 rifles. Anything built before 1964 is in a fundamentally different category of quality, collectability, and value. Standard 12-gauge field-grade Model 12s were $300 to $500 guns 10 years ago. Today they are selling for $700 to $1,500, depending on condition and configuration. Step into the trap and skeet variants, and you are looking at $1,500 to $3,000. Find one in 28-gauge or .410 bore, and you have entered a world where prices range from $3,000 to well over $5,000. Pre-war production adds yet another premium. The trajectory is clear, consistent, and unbroken. The Model 12 has been appreciating for decades, and there is no reason to believe it will stop. We are 3 shotguns into this list, and already we are looking at guns that have doubled or tripled in value over the last decade, while most people were not paying attention. Here's my question for you. Do you own any of these first 3? And if you do, did you have any idea what they were actually worth right now? Tell me in the comments, because I have a feeling some of you are about to be very surprised. Number 4. The Browning Auto 5. John Moses Browning is the most important firearms designer in human history. That is not opinion. That is simply a factual assessment of the man's body of work. He designed a 1911 pistol, the Browning High Power, the M2 heavy machine gun, the bar. The list is almost absurd in its scope. And yet, when Browning himself was asked which of his designs he considered his greatest achievement, he did not name the 1911. He did not name the machine gun. He pointed to the Auto 5. The Auto 5, introduced in 1902, was the first commercially successful semi-automatic shotgun in the world. Browning invented the long recoil operating system specifically for this gun, a system so mechanically sound that it remained in production for 96 years until 1998. The distinctive humpback receiver profile makes the Auto 5 one of the most instantly recognizable firearms ever produced. You can identify one from across a room. Early production was handled by Fabrique Nationale in Belgium, and those Belgian-made Auto 5 shotguns are the crown jewels of the lineup. The hand engraving on Belgian FN guns is exquisite. The bluing is deep and lustrous. The walnut has a richness and figure that modern mass production cannot replicate. Among collectors, the hierarchy is clear. Belgian-made guns sit at the top, followed by early Japanese production, with late Japanese and final year models at the bottom. Within the Auto 5 world, one variant stands apart: the Sweet 16. The 16-gauge Auto 5, produced on a purpose-built frame slightly smaller than the 12-gauge, earned its nickname because of its perfect balance of weight, power, and handling. The Sweet 16 is one of the most beloved shotguns in the American sporting tradition, and collectors have been driving its prices upward for years. A standard post-war Belgian Auto 5 and 12-gauge was a $400 to $600 gun 5 to 7 years ago. Today, those same guns are moving at $800 to $1,400. Belgian Sweet 16s in excellent original condition are reaching $1,500 to $3,000. Pre-war A-grade guns, and anything in the higher engraving grades, can break $5,000 and continue climbing from there. And here is something most people do not know. FN in Belgium is never making these again. The tooling is gone. The craftsmen who built them are gone. Every Belgian Auto 5 in existence is all there will ever be. The supply curve on these guns only moves in one direction. Number 3. The Remington Model 1100, early production pre-1977. The Remington 1100 did something in 1963 that changed the shotgun world permanently. It made the gas-operated semi-automatic shotgun reliable, affordable, and pleasant to shoot. Before the 1100, semi-automatic shotguns were either expensive, temperamental, or punishing in their recoil. The 1100's gas system bled off a portion of the expanding gases to cycle the action, and in doing so, it softened felt recoil to a degree that was genuinely revelatory for shooters of that era. Within a few years, the 1100 had become the dominant competition shotgun in America and the best-selling semi-automatic shotgun in history. But like the 870 Wingmaster, there is a dividing line. The early 1100s, particularly those made before 1977, were built to a standard that later production simply did not maintain. The bluing was deeper. The walnut was finer. The internal components were machined to tighter tolerances. As Remington shifted to higher volume production and cost reduction strategies in the late 1970s and beyond, the quality perceptibly declined. Experienced shooters can pick up a 1968 Remington 1100 and a 1988 Remington 1100 and tell the difference in 30 seconds. The collector market has responded accordingly. Standard 12-gauge field models from the pre-1977 era were $300 to $400 10 years ago. Today they bring $500 to $800 for clean, original examples. But the real action is in the subgauges and the competition grades. A pre-1977 model 1128 gauge or .410 bore, an original skeet or trap configuration, is now a $1,000 to $2,500 gun. Tournament and premier grades, which were Remington's top-tier offerings, can exceed $3,000 for exceptional examples. And just like with the 870, Remington's bankruptcy and dissolution has added a layer of urgency to this market. There will be no more original Remington 1100s. The factory that built them is closed. The brand as it existed for over 200 years is gone. What remains is what exists, and every year, the pool of clean, original, pre-1977 examples gets smaller. We are past the halfway mark now, and the top 3 on this list are where things get truly extraordinary. These are not just guns that are gaining value. These are guns that are quietly entering the same investment category as fine art and rare coins. But before we get there, I want to hear from you. What is the most you have ever seen a shotgun sell for, whether at a gun show, an auction house, or a private sale? Drop the number and the model in the comments. The stories that come out of this community never cease to amaze me. Number 2. The Winchester Model 21. If you want to understand why the Winchester Model 21 occupies the position it does in American firearms history, you need to understand one fact that most people never learn. Winchester lost money on every single Model 21 it ever produced. Every one. The gun was too expensive to build, too labor-intensive to manufacture at scale, and too obsessively crafted to ever turn a profit. And Winchester built them anyway, for 60 years, because the Model 21 was not a product. It was a statement. It was Winchester saying, "This is the finest side-by-side shotgun that American manufacturing can produce, and we will prove it even if it costs us money to do so." Production began in 1931, just as the Great Depression was tightening its grip on the country. The timing was terrible. A premium double-barrel shotgun launched into a collapsing economy should have been a footnote. Instead, it became a legend. The Model 21 was designed and promoted by John M. Olin himself, the man who purchased Winchester through the Western Cartridge Company and saved it from financial ruin. Olin insisted that the Model 21 be built to the highest possible standard, and the craftsmen in the New Haven, Connecticut factory delivered. Each Model 21 features a hand-fitted frame-to-barrel lockup using a proprietary dovetail and brazing method that is unique among American doubles. The barrels are attached using a long, mating dovetail and brazed in place, creating a joint so strong that it requires no upper crossbolt or reinforcement. The locking mechanism uses cone-shaped bolts that automatically take up wear over time, meaning the gun actually tightens itself with use rather than loosening. The checkering is hand-cut. The wood is selected and fitted individually. The bluing was done using Winchester's own proprietary formula. Total production across all years and all grades was approximately 31,000 guns. The first 30,000 were built during regular production from 1931 to 1959. After that, the Winchester Custom Shop produced roughly 1,000 more by hand on special order until 1991. The Custom Shop later sold its tooling and rights to Connecticut Shotgun Company, which continues to build Model 21s to order at prices that start well above $20,000. Here is where the market stands today. A standard grade Model 21 in 12 gauge was roughly $2,000 to $3,500 15 years ago. Today, those same guns are bringing $4,000 to $8,000, depending on condition and configuration. Move into the 20 gauge and 16 gauge models, and the prices climb further. Step into the higher grades: tournament, trap, skeet, custom, pigeon, Grand American, and you enter a world where $10,000 is the floor and $30,000 to $50,000 is realistic for exceptional examples. The .410 bore Model 21, offered only in custom grade, is so rare that pricing is essentially whatever a determined collector is willing to pay. Only 8 Model 21s were ever produced in 28 gauge. 8. Those guns are functionally priceless. The Model 21 is not a shotgun that crashes in value. It is not subject to the whims of the tactical market or the political cycle. It exists in a category of its own, American hand-built craftsmanship that can never be replicated at its original price point. If you own one, you own one of the finest mechanical objects ever built in this country. Number 1. Parker Brothers Shotguns. Everything on this list has been building to this. Every shotgun we have discussed, from the Remington 870 Wingmaster to the Winchester Model 21, is a great American firearm. But the Parker Brothers shotgun is something else entirely. It is the single greatest investment in the history of American sporting firearms. And most people have no idea. Charles Parker founded Parker Brothers in Meriden, Connecticut in 1866, just after the Civil War. For the next 68 years, until Remington purchased the company in 1934, Parker Brothers produced what many historians, collectors, and gunsmiths consider the finest double-barrel shotguns ever made in the United States. Remington continued limited Parker production until 1942, when the line was discontinued forever to focus manufacturing on war materials. And that was it. No revival, no reproduction, no second chance. Every Parker shotgun in existence was built before 1942, and the total production across nearly 8 decades was approximately 243,000 guns. That number sounds large until you understand the grading system. Parker did not build one shotgun. They built a hierarchy of shotguns, each grade representing an escalating level of engraving with quality, fit, and finishing. The grades, from bottom to top, were the Trojan, then VH, GH, DH, CH, BH, H, AH, and at the summit, the A, one special. The lower grades were made in large numbers. The higher grades were not. And the A, one special, the absolute pinnacle of Parker craftsmanship, was produced in a total quantity of fewer than 80 guns across the entire history of the company. Fewer than 80. Over nearly 7 decades of production. The A1 Special represents what is arguably the highest expression of the American gunmaker's art. Each one was hand-engraved, hand-finished, and fitted with the finest walnut available. They were shotguns built for presidents, for railroad barons, for the wealthiest sportsmen of the Gilded Age and the Roaring Twenties. Annie Oakley shot a Parker. Theodore Roosevelt's son received a Parker 20-gauge VH grade as a gift when he turned 14, and that specific shotgun, Kermit Roosevelt's Parker, sold at Rock Island Auction in May 2024 for $105,750. And the A1 Specials occupy a different atmosphere entirely. A Parker A1 Special sold at auction in 2006 for over $400,000. In the years since, the market has continued to climb. Today, a comparable gun would be expected to bring well over $500,000. A Parker A1 Special in a small bore, 28-gauge or .410, is essentially a museum piece. The value is whatever two determined collectors in a room decide it is, and that number keeps growing. But here is what most people miss, and this is why I place Parker Brothers at number 1 on this list. You do not need to own an A1 Special to benefit from the Parker appreciation curve. Even the entry-level grades are climbing steadily. A VH grade Parker in 12-gauge, the most common configuration, was a $1,500 to $2,500 gun 20 years ago. Today it brings $3,500 to $6,000. The DHE grade in 20-gauge has moved from $3,000 to $5,000 into the $8,000 to $15,000 range. And the trajectory shows no sign of flattening. The reason is simple mathematics. 243,000 guns were made. Every year, some are lost to fire, flood, neglect, and estate liquidations where heirs do not know what they have. The supply shrinks. It can never grow. And the community of Parker collectors is one of the most dedicated, most organized, and most well-funded collector groups in the American firearms world. They are not going anywhere. They are buying. They are holding. And they are driving prices upward with a patience and a consistency that has lasted for decades. If you inherit a Parker, get it appraised by someone who specializes in Parkers, not a general gun dealer. If you find one at a gun show, especially in the smaller gauges, know that you are looking at something that may be worth far more than the seller realizes. And if you own one already, here is your one instruction. Do not sell it. Do not refinish it. Do not alter it in any way. Leave it exactly as it came from the factory, because originality is what drives Parker values. Advanced collectors will discount a refinished Parker by 40 to 60% compared to an original finish example. The factory condition is everything. Parker Brothers shotguns have appreciated at rates that rival fine art, rare coins, and blue-chip real estate. And unlike stocks and real estate, a Parker does not require maintenance fees, property taxes, or management. It sits in your safe, quietly becoming more valuable every single year. That is why it is number 1. Not because it is the most expensive shotgun on this list, but because it is the most reliably appreciating firearm asset in American history. Now step back and look at the full picture of what we just covered. 7 shotguns. 7 names that span 160 years of American firearms history. Every single one of them is appreciating in value right now. The ones at the bottom of this list, the 870 Wingmaster, the Ithaca 37, the Remington 1100, are still accessible. You can still buy them at prices that will look like a bargain in 5 years. The ones at the top, the Winchester Model 21, the Parker Brothers, are already in rarefied air, and they are only going higher. The common thread connecting all 7 is the same. Each one was built during a period when American manufacturers prioritized craftsmanship over efficiency. Each one represents a level of hand-fitting, hand-finishing, and material quality that the economics of modern manufacturing will never allow again. And each one exists in a finite, shrinking supply that no factory, no corporation, and no amount of money can replenish. They are not making any more pre-64 Winchesters. They are not making any more original Ithacas. They are certainly not making any more Parkers. What exists is all there will ever be. And the people who understand that are the ones who are holding, collecting, and watching their investments grow year after year while the rest of the market chases the next plastic pistol. Here is exactly what I want you to do right now. First, go to your gun safe or your cabinet and look at your shotguns. Look at the markings, the serial numbers, and the manufacturer stamps. Compare what you have to the models on this list. You might be surprised at what is sitting there. Second, if you own any of these shotguns, do not refinish them, do not modify them, and do not let anyone talk you into updating them with new stocks or finishes. Originality is the single biggest value driver in the collector market. A worn, original finish Parker is worth dramatically more than a freshly refinished one. Third, if you are considering selling any shotgun, do your research first. Get a proper appraisal from a specialist, not a general pawn shop or big box retailer. The difference between what a pawn shop will offer you and what a collector will pay can be thousands of dollars. Fourth, if you are looking to buy, the lower end of this list is still accessible. Pre-1987 Wingmasters, original Ithaca 37s, and early production Remington 1100s are still out there at prices that represent genuine value. They are not going to stay at these levels. Fifth, pass these guns down. Include them in your estate planning. Make sure your family knows what they have and what it is worth. The single greatest tragedy in the collector firearms world is an heir who sells a $5,000 shotgun for $300 because nobody told them what it was. If you made it to this point, you now know more about collectible American shotguns than 99% of gun owners in this country. You know what is climbing. You know why it is climbing. And you know which guns to never, ever let go of. Hit that like button if you learned something new today. I put real research and real market data into every video, and a like helps more people find this information. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the collector market. I cover firearms history, market trends, and investment-grade guns every single week. The people who stay informed are the ones who make the smartest decisions with their collections. Now here is my question for the comments, and I want your honest answer. Which shotgun on this list do you think is the most undervalued right now? The one with the most room to grow? And if you own any of these 7, would you sell or are you holding? Tell me below. I read every single comment, and the conversations in this community are half the reason I make these videos. Share this with anyone you know who owns shotguns, especially anyone who inherited one and might not know what they have. That share could literally save them thousands of dollars. The worst mistake in the firearms world is selling a gun you can never replace. And every shotgun on this list is irreplaceable. Hold them, preserve them, and pass them on. I will see you in the next one.